Welcome to one of the Christmas editions of the Endless Stream. Each week we take some of the endless stream of content brought to you through Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Spotify, YouTube, Netflix again, I think, Amazon Prime. Wherever you get your content, we take a chunk of it, we watch it, and we talk about it. I'm Aidan, and this week I am joined by Dylan Smith. He is the host of the Heartfire's Tales podcast. He is a nerd. I am a nerd. We know each other for years through athletic pursuits, let's call it that. We're going to check in. He's going to tell us about his podcast, he's going to tell us about Dungeons & Dragons, he's going to tell us about his LARPing and his streaming, but on top of that we're going to talk about the movie news and the nerd news, and we're going to talk about his film of choice, which was the 2019, I believe, Stephen Merchant BBC special, Click and Collect, which is good fun. It's a fun chat, it's a fun podcast, and it's something for you to listen to here on New Year's Day. I think this is when this is dropping. So, we hope you had a wonderful Christmas. We hope you had a wonderful New Year's Eve. Recover, sit back, relax, and listen to a fun chat. Okay. Welcome to another episode of The Endless Stream. I will, of course, do my usual intro, telling everybody what to expect in the coming episode ahead of time, and they'll have heard that by now. But please welcome to the podcast Dylan Smith, who some people may know from Heartfire Tales podcast. Anything else I should list there?
You might know me from I have a LARP YouTube channel called Fake Swords and Real Feelings. I have
great title.
Been on a thank you. I've been on another actual play podcast doing Pathfinder called Cut from the Chronicles. I have another podcast where I don't necessarily rate actual play shows, but more kind of like review them in a kind of like a book club sense. So that's kind of fun. We call that a roleplay review, a TTRPG book club essentially. And you might know me from just seeing me around the streets.
Seeing you around the streets. This is the first time we've caught up in a long time. Definitely like pre-pandemic. I mean, we've chatted a little bit on Instagram. Maybe we've been around at cons and stuff.
Yeah, I think probably a good while. Obviously, we go like way back. Yeah. I want to say the guts of 20 years. Not quite 20 years, but like probably 17 years or so.
What age are you?
I am 33.
33. Wow. Okay, so I've got a few years on you, which means I knew you because I knew you when you were a little springy teenager.
This is it, yeah. And I was doing those classes in IADT doing parkour when I was I want to say 15 or 16, probably definitely not older than that.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a good 17, 18 years ago.
So for the listeners that would have no idea, I went to the art college here in Dublin.
Is this like Aidan lore for podcast
They're learning. I tend to keep my shit to myself.
Drop
mostly.
your
I
secrets.
just talk movies. I guess the way I always phrase it is like I was there Gen 1 of parkour after Jump London, the documentary, like did the rounds, and me and a handful of idiots said, this is awesome. Like, we never got into Jackass, but we definitely decided to throw ourselves off of buildings because of this fucking thing. And I always put it as like, we broke our fucking bodies so the people out after us didn't have to. You know, we figured out, don't jump from this first. Don't do a somersault this way. So like, I bent a knee backwards, I broke an ankle, I've got a couple of like slightly herniated discs. I've got what the doctors called mildly advanced spinal arthritis. I'm in bits, but so far I'm able to power through. And one of the things we did was we ran a free running society or parkour society in the art college, and we kept our mouths shut about the fact that there were a lot of people in that room that weren't students.
Yeah, that definitely felt
sketch
that
as
we
fuck.
were skirting a lot of rules.
I remember at one point John Mills, you mightn't have been there that day, I don't even know if you know John Mills, because there's so many years and so many people and so many names that sort of rolled into one.
Of course.
He came in to give an announcement about like college stuff because he was like the SU president or something, you know, and he starts announcing whatever the fuck, and he stops and he looks at me and went, why have you got an army of children?
Yeah, because we did not look college age at all. I mean, I know, okay, yeah, some college kids can look young, but like there was solidly 14-year-olds there, you know, clearly not of college age.
And my rationale was, I mean, nobody was asking me about any fucking qualifications. It's their fault, you know.
Yeah, probably.
I feel
very
the duty
fair.
of care was on the college part. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I teach at that college occasionally.
We can edit this out. The power of podcasting.
So when I met you, you were very much, you were a, like, I don't know, you had a martial arts background, and you were a little gymnast, and you were just doing wiry kickflips and somersaults and wall flips and wall runs and everything. And you probably, I don't mean to diminish your current state of athleticism, but you definitely wandered towards a power lifter vibe. You're a big boy now.
I am a bit of a chunkster at the moment. But yeah, like I think, like the way you were saying there, you were the Gen 1 of like parkour and free running in Ireland. I kind of saw myself as the Gen 1 of like tricking. And again, for the uninitiated, tricking is kind of like the term that some people would see it and probably just think it's free running, but it's more kind of like extreme martial arts, and extreme in the sense of everything is over the top and unnecessary and done for show. It's very much like gymnastics mixed with taekwondo, that kind of vibe, some breakdancing and stuff thrown in there. So like I got really into that through my martial arts background. I'd been doing martial arts since I was like 7, and just got really into the idea of like, you know, pushing my body and seeing what I can do in various different ways, which is kind of, you know, a theme that's gone on throughout all my life, just in various different ways, as you kind of said there. So
how much
I had very much.
Can I drink?
Yeah, pretty much. And how much, how much sleep do I really need to function on a weekday? But yeah, so I very much kind of abused those classes. It's like, they've got crash mats there. Oh my God. That was like the mecca of what we could even ever hope for.
We had crash mats. We had like Oren Blackwell, I feel like his name was. Or maybe I'm making up his last name. It's been so long. Like he was another one of the Gen 1 guys, and he was like a breaker, like breakdancing guy. I feel like he's like a exec in Microsoft or something at this point. It's been so fucking long.
Probably.
Like that shit just all fades away. The sort of like fucking like MDMA and fucking rave days of college, but like we got wind from some other 14-year-old at New Park School had just done up their gymnastics department, so we like loaded up the hatchback and borrowed a trailer from someone's mom and went to a skip outside of school and took 2
amazing
gymnastics horses that were in. They weren't in bits, but they weren't like what you would call, like, I don't know, gymnasts.
They weren't new.
They weren't great. There was a lot of duct tape on them, to be fair. And pulled out a springboard or 2, and then we bought some crash mats with a budget, because they did give us a budget. And we bought a chunk of scaffolding as well. We put a cage together.
Yeah.
I made boxes out of so much MDF in my kitchen. Like an 8-foot box being assembled in my kitchen that I then had to like dismantle and bring up. And I'm not like an efficient carpenter. I was just like, I need this to be so fucking sturdy that no one's going to blame it. Like, it can't fall apart.
Yeah, for sure.
So I built like a...
Yeah, you're putting like the health and safety of a lot of people in your hands with stuff like that. Yeah. So, very brave of you to do.
And because it was a budget, and because I was like buying materials and getting paid for labor, I had to make sure that they couldn't blame me if the thing collapsed under somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
So I like... That thing weighed a fucking ton. It was like an 8-foot tall by 8-foot long L-shaped box that was 1 meter by 1 by 2 meters. That's right, isn't it? Oh, I don't know. Either way, it was fucking big. And like when we wanted to use it, we had to pull it out of a storeroom, and it took like 5 people to move this weight.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I should have been studying or fucking trying to get girls or something, but like instead it was...
But you had done that for so long, because I remember obviously I went as a, you know, as you rightfully called me, a springy little teenage bollocks, and you know, and then I kind of dropped off the face of the earth for a while in terms of a lot of my training. I had gone to college myself, and just kind of all my training kind of just fell by the wayside for a couple of years, and then I remember kind of getting back into it probably maybe 10 years ago, maybe it feels right, maybe 11, 12. Right. And you were still doing it, like it was still going. And I remember going, like popping in for a little bit. I don't know if you were running it necessarily, but it was still going in a fashion.
We had kind of started it right after, like this is like just laying all the fucking cards on the table of it as well. Like we had kind of started it in like 2nd or 3rd year. We had just got it running, and I wanted to keep it going. So like
Yeah.
whoever was like the most enthusiastic person in the society that year, I went, okay, you're going to be the president next year. I'm out here.
Yeah.
But like, this is what we do to apply for a budget. This is what we do, this and the other. I'll do all of this work. I'll support you. I'll put posters up around the place. Just let me take the fucking, like, the €2 class fee each time. And if we got like 20 people in, you know, I made €40. If we got 10 people in, I made and like, I just wanted to train as much as anything else. And here was a space, like, there's no other fucking space in Dublin that was like this for free running. And so
it really was genuinely ahead of its time for such like a punk like DIY project that it was. It genuinely was so impactful. I remember there was times where there was easily 30-40 people in that class in its heyday, you know. And as you said, there was nothing else like it there. And even still nowadays, I know Pickles is still going. Him and Paul are like have joined up with some other, I can't remember the name of the gymnastics gym at the moment, but they're teaching parkour classes out there. And then the only other thing was out in Maynooth.
Yeah. But I don't know
PCB's
anywhere
thing.
that has like a scaffolding rig and a boxes and a couple of horses and crash mats and stuff. And like places make things work. You do the best you can with what you got. But like this was being built specifically with as much stuff as I could get. Like they eventually moved us off to like a third. They moved us to 2 different locations over the fucking years, but like one of them was this big white room on a little industrial estate across the road. Did you ever go to that one?
That was the one when I came back to it, that's where you guys were.
Cool. I took all of the equipment and like I cleared this place out and like I tidied, like, because they decided that like we do need to have some sort of space for athletic pursuits or societies, whatever, like being a college, because
the misfits,
look, they fucked up a lot. Like as an art college, they were like, no, we got sports and things, and like, but they also brought in so many students and then had nowhere to put them that they took the Trevor Scott Theatre, which was the room we started in initially.
Yes.
But then they went, oh, well, we need to use this for other things. So they put a big handrail, like a big barrier across the stage. If you think of that room, that was a stage, but they had a 3-foot fucking safety rail. Like you can't use it as a theater now. Right? That's not a stage anymore.
Yeah, of course.
And then they just decided we've so many students, they put up partition walls and they just made it a classroom.
Yes.
And that's why we got moved.
Yeah.
That's why we got moved. And then like I was like, cool, okay, well let's make the best of this place. And I cleared it up like crazy. And I took all of our equipment and like Mirror's Edge, I think had just come out, and I just like I painted everything white and gave it like a red landing surface, and I made all these steps. And I was just like, I fucking love this. And I took photos of like, they're gone now, but like I took photos of the place like day one where it was just like pristine. And then they decided, no, this is now a storeroom for the model making and a workshop, and there was just so much shit around all the time.
Yes, I remember there being constant wars of like, even at some point as well, then like skaters came in and were using it at our time.
They built a half pipe
like
in there.
Yes.
And then they were like, this half pipe's not great enough, so we're going to build a bigger half pipe. And it's like, you're taking up the entire fucking space with these things. Our stuff like stacks away.
I remember coming in and having to kick all of the model making students out and stuff, and they had just like bits of wood everywhere, and we're like, this isn't safe because there's like splinters and things all over, and we want to like roll on the floor and things like that. So wild. Yeah,
so that slowly sort of tapered off, and like part of it as well was just like, I don't know, it was post 2008. There was a fucking trouble getting jobs, and I just kept doing the thing that paid some money, and like I was teaching as well, and then I was working in animation as well, but like I don't know, it was just a really good outlet. I loved it, and we'd go training around the pier and stuff. So that's how I know Dylan. Anyway,
nice little detour there.
Recap,
but
I did bump into you one night in the Globe, I think. I just remember that it was always one of those like out of context moments where you're like minding your business, and then suddenly like, I know you from exercise conditions, and here you are just it's like seeing a teacher outside of class, and you're like, you have another life that I'm not aware of. What's this? But now I as you said, I got more into powerlifting and weightlifting and things like that over the past few years. Started CrossFit there in June of this year. Cool.
I got shoulder surgery literally right before COVID.
Wow.
I tore my rotator cuff and my bicep tendon. which wasn't a great time.
No, I can imagine.
And it wasn't even like a single incident that did it, that I was like, oh, that's really bad, I'm in pain, I better go get checked out. It was just like over the course of years of training, I was like, my shoulder is sore and has not stopped being sore for the past 4 months. Was
there a specific thing you did to injure it?
I was doing a lot of Olympic weightlifting, and I think just doing snatches, so in like an overhead squat position. Right. And I don't think I was fully mobile, and I was maybe overcompensating the way my shoulder was rotating. And because I'd gone from a powerlifting background before that, I gotten real strong. Like I was, and still am, like relatively strong. And so I think
you were throwing
my
weight
strength
around.
Was overcompensating for my lack of technique and mobility. And I think I just went too far into it. And then by the time I had kind of slowed down, got proper coaching and things like that, just damage was done and was continuing to be, like, it was never healing. And so, yeah, I got shoulder surgery literally right before COVID. Like, they rang me and were like, hey, you're down to have surgery in the next 3 months. But we've had loads of cancellations as people don't want to go to a hospital in this potential pandemic. Do you want to come in? And I was like, yeah. And it was perfect because, like, I just got to go in, and then my rest period was what I thought was like, oh yeah, sure, we'll be in lockdown for like 3 weeks. And perfect time. I can't train anyway, so I'll recover. And then I just never got a good run back at training because there was like gyms opening, closing. I got into running and stuff a little bit, but it was never the same. And then I've recently bought a house down in Wicklow here, and was like, there's a CrossFit gym. Kind of always thought I'd get into it because it's kind of like a little bit athletic. It's a little bit gymnasticy. It's a little bit weighting lifty, kind of hit all of the boxes of kind of similar things I've been training.
They got you doing the kip and pull-ups?
Yeah, pretty much. All that kind of good stuff. Well, I haven't gotten the kip and pull-ups yet because I still can't do.
You got to work your way.
They're very strict. To be like, no, you have to be able to do strict pull-ups first.
Oh, and very good.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, no, they're very good. I wouldn't have gone to the typical.
The joke was always just they pull people and
stereo
get them doing that kip and shit, and everybody injures themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I would never have gone to a stereotypical CrossFit gym, but I was very happy with kind of what their approach was when I was like investigating them, and it was like, yeah, this is good.
That's cool.
This is good for me. So yeah, there you go.
Let me plug in some gaps, and you can tell me whether or not you want to go into this stuff. But like, okay, you went to college, but what did you do in college? Because we were very just free running. Like, and did that then translate into what you do now professionally, or what do you do these days?
Not at all.
Okay.
So I loved college so much. The first time around, I went and did it again.
So what did you do the first time?
I did human nutrition in UCD the first time around.
Okay.
And didn't finish it. Okay. I dropped out in third year, essentially. I just didn't. It was the first year that course had run.
Right.
And there was basically no prospects out of it beyond research. And I was like, that sounds like hell. And I had just done, our third year was full work placement.
Right.
And like kind of like practical college work, practical like field work. So I was down in Cork helping with this research project, basically seeing patients every day. I was with a nurse and we were doing like blood samples, BMIs, waist measurements, general kind of like lifestyle check-ins and things like that. And I was like, I really, really like this kind of like practical hands-on working with people thing. This is what I went into nutrition for, back into what my background was of like training so much. I was like initially interested in nutrition because of that. And I was like, okay, maybe I can kind of do this, And then fourth year started and they were like, forget all of that. You're going to basically do research, and we're going to make you do your final year thesis on nothing that your third year thesis was on, because we want you to be well-rounded. I was like, but I chose my third year thesis and research project because I enjoyed that aspect of it, and I hated it, and I got really, really stressed. And so I dropped out and was like, I'm just going to take a break for a year. Ended up I've been working part-time in Essentra in Bray, and so started working full-time there, became a supervisor there, and I was like, I actually quite like this again, that kind of like hands-on approach. I was like working with people, I was problem solving, all that good stuff. So then I went and Lidl had a kind of like a pre-graduate program where they basically sent you through college, and you do a semester of college and then a semester of work placement in stores to train you up to be a store manager. And I did that. Worked in Lidl then as a store manager for like 6 months, then went into their supply chain team, was a supply chain project manager for 2 years. Then I was a buyer. So I was the one, you know, the middle aisle of Lidl where all the random stuff is. That was me. That was my job. Which like, yeah.
You a hero.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting, to be honest. Like, it was wild to see just the whole like ins and outs of what that entailed, you know? Yeah, we can delve into that a little bit. And then I left there eventually after another 2 years of doing that job. Worked for a media house, who are a media company who own the Irish Independent and a few other newspapers and businesses in Ireland now. They wanted to set up a web store, like an e-commerce platform, to basically kind of use their newspaper ads to sell products through and funnel people to the website to do it. Seemingly they've done this in their other countries and it's been quite successful. Spoiler alert, it wasn't successful. Got made redundant end of last year, and now I am back in supply chain again doing demand planning. So yeah, I've been kind of all around the place. No, in a company called Richmond Marketing. So we look after brands like Fulfill, VitHit, Peroni, Asahi, things like that.
So was it just, sorry, I don't mean just, but like, was it project management stuff by the time you go to Media House?
So I was brought on basically to run their e-commerce platform from a purchasing, from a kind of like a purchasing and promotional management perspective. So basically it was my job to decide, okay, it was very similar to kind of what I'd done in Lidl. It was like, okay, in the spring, people want gardening stuff because they want to clean up their garden after the winter. Let's get some stuff for that. In, you know, summer, it's like people are going on holidays, or they're spending, again, to keep the gardening theme going, they're spending more time in the garden. So let's get some products that are kind of like
barbecues,
seasonal and topical. Barbecues at Christmas, Black Friday, people want like, you know, gifts and things like that. Yeah. So it was my job to basically plan that kind of seasonal calendar, and then also, you know, source those products, promote them, market them, and sell them. And it was just me and one other person running it. She ran like the actual, she had set up the website, but basically she didn't have the commercial experience. So that's what I was brought in to manage.
That's amazing. That's not what I expected you to say in any way.
What did you, out of curiosity, what did you think I was going to say?
Of the nutrition thing, I thought health training, that end of things. I could absolutely have seen like project or like management, like some media end of things, but I didn't expect commerce, I guess, you know, like supply chain stuff.
Like full on business.
Yeah, man. That's great.
I think it's really interesting because I was in my interview for my current role. They were like, you know, one of the things about this job is it can get kind of samey, and I was like, perfect. I love samey. I love knowing I'm gonna have the same things to do, not necessarily day in, day out, but like my months follow the same kind of cycle. I have my, you know, I know what I'm doing at the start of the month, I know what I'm doing in the middle of the month, I know what I'm doing at the end of the month. And I was saying, like, I'm actually really happy with that because I have so many creative outlets outside of work that kind of I can kind of just be monotonous, get my paycheck, do my job, and then outside of work I can, you know, go wild with creative projects, and you know, it's kind of a nice mix for me. So
that's amazing. And so the creative stuff, I mean, we've talked about free running and training and that sort of things, right? Like on the I mean, like, I'm an art guy. I see a bunch of art behind you. Are you you art, illustration, painting, sculpting, or are you?
I am not artistic at all. I would never.
Definitely performance.
Performance, yes, but I would never have classified or considered myself as being particularly creative for most of my life. I guess because I always associated creativity with standard art or typical art in terms of drawing, illustration, all, you know, the very kind of like tangible aspects of it, you know? And it wasn't until I got into playing Dungeons and Dragons, probably about 10 years ago, just kind of casually. It was always something I was kind of like, it was on my periphery a lot. Like, I'm really into nerd things. All these things on my wall are fantasy maps, generally, like a lot of them, you know?
Yeah. I see the Smock Alley poster as well. Like, that's a good time, man.
That was great. Like, not to jump ahead, but like, yeah, we did a live show this year with the D&D podcast, and it was unreal. It was such a great, like, honestly, one of the best things I've done in my life, I think. You know, it was just such a good experience. But like, I've always been into fantasy things. I've always loved fantasy books, and just like, you know, fantasy games, just like fantasy music and metal and, you know, power metal, all that kind of stuff. And so like, when I started playing D&D, and then I kind of instantly, you know, wanted to run my own games and thought I could do that. That would be fun. And I very, very quickly fell into like writing my own stories and writing my own encounters and, you know, playing with mechanics and kind of all this sort of stuff. And I realized, hey, this is actually pretty creative, you know? And then, you know, the podcast side of things came out about 3 years ago now. We kind of like decided we wanted to do it, and that kind of like performance element came true, because like, you know, I'm a firm believer that in general people don't want to just listen to a game of D&D being played, because what's fun to play at your own table isn't necessarily good content, quotation marks. So like, we were very kind of conscious that like, you know, we need to have our audience kind of not even the back end, like almost in the forefront of our mind all the time, to be like, would this be something good to listen to, you know? And so kind of with that became a lot of like, okay, well, how do I get good at voices? How do we get good at acting and getting emotions out and stuff? And I'd never done drama or anything like that my entire life, you know? So it was all just learning. It was all just sitting in front of YouTube being like, wow, that's how voices work? That's amazing. This is how like a very, very basic acting technique is. Wow, this is a concept of yes and. My mind is blown. All the real basic stuff. And I just deep dove and just basically taught myself.
So I remember there was a point, I don't, like, when you say, 3 years ago, I was like, wait, is that was that the pandemic? Was that before the pandemic? I've like, the pandemic messes with my head so much in terms of time loss, but you reached out to me at one point to talk about like improv classes or workshops or whatever.
I think that was maybe probably a year and a half ago or so. Okay. I would say it was probably just after
just when everything started to open up again.
I think, yeah, and you know, it was kind of just a case of like, hey, I'm enjoying doing this kind of improv stuff myself, but I'm sure there's loads of things I could be doing to improve, because like just that whole concept of like, you don't know what you don't know, right? 100%. So like, and while I'm very confident and self-confident in my own abilities can only get me so far, and there's only so much I can learn from YouTube and from trial and error. And like, my absolute dream would be to be able to do creative things as a job, you know, in terms of like in the D&D and TTRPG sphere. So I'm not going to be able to do that.
So TTRPG is level. Tabletop role-playing game?
Tabletop role-playing games, yeah.
Cool.
So it's kind of like a catch-all term for what most people would just call D&D.
Cool.
But yeah, so I mean, yeah, that's why I'd seen obviously you doing loads of stuff with Bag of Cats, which is really, really cool, you know, like we kind of talked a little bit about this on Instagram, you know, when we were catching up for this, but like genuinely it's so cool, like what you've done by even starting an improv group and then doing shows and stuff. And now you're going on to, I know this podcast is about me, but I'm going to gush on you for a second. Like the fact that you've like, you know, and now you're guessing with Dungeons and Dragons, and they've just had like an amazing, Steve has just had an amazing Kickstarter and stuff like that. So like, that's a really cool thing for you. And that's more than most people have done, because most people haven't even gotten to the like, I should sign up for a class stage, and you've done all that. So yeah, be proud of yourself.
I don't know. I am. Yeah, I am. You want to sit on some shit as well, and just be like, this is the Irish thing where it's just like, it's nothing. But like at the same time, like we did the full month of Edinburgh Fringe. Like, we went
Fucking
over and did
That's class, man.
6 of us in an apartment built for 2, sleeping on couches and floors and doing improv shows every night for a bunch of drunk Scotsmen. There is nothing as terrifying, or when it goes wrong. I always focus on when it goes wrong, but it's like you spent the last hour flyering people into a bar going, it's great, it's a comedy show, Irish people, do you like Irish people, you don't like Irish people, let us change your mind, we've got the best show. And if it goes wrong 10 minutes in and you have an hour of the one narrative and you just look down at the person in the fucking 30-seat room who's looking at you as if to say, you said this was good, what the fuck? And I'm like, I'm sorry man, I don't know what happens, it's a swing and a miss on us, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very natural to focus on
that was great stuff too.
Negatives.
That was great stuff too. But I guess the question was going to be like, did you go and do an improv workshop or class or something?
I haven't gotten around to it yet, and because buying my house took a lot longer than expected. We were waiting pretty much a year since we put down our booking deposit to actually getting the keys and moving in, and I think I had only messaged you maybe like 4 months before that. I want to say that was, we did that in like February, and I want to say that I probably messaged you towards the end of the year with the intention of being in the new year I'll do it, and then that came in and I was like, well, I'm not going to start something now because I don't know when I'm going to be moving, and I don't want to start something and have to leave halfway through. But then the house just kept getting pushed on and pushed on and pushed on. And now I've only really just kind of settled down here, starting back up with the gym. And then I've just got loads of other kind of 100%. Projects on.
I tell you, I would say, right, like I've done a bunch of additional classes since we spoke about that. Like, like I trained with Mob. They've got a 101, 201, 301, fucking 401. You'll be there doing 6-8 week class sessions for whatever. Improv is in many ways a pyramid scheme. You buy in and you just run through the fucking thing. Like it's a lot of lovely white people with disposable income is one of the jokes I do. I tried improv before I tried comedy. But it's Mob is great. They're lovely people. Their shows are great fun. You can go and do that. Kelly Shatter's classes are amazing. Okay. She's a phenomenal teacher. I've loved those. I did 3 fucking courses of that since last we spoke. But if you're just looking to dip your toe in, there's a thing called the Improv Playground on a Monday night, and it's just a drop-in session. And it's Neil, oh God, I'm going to have to drop his name in after the fact because I'm blanking on it. But Neil and Quentin, they run a great fun class, and it's very drop-in. It's very fun. Like, you'll get regular improv heads in there, but you also get like people that have just moved to Dublin and want to make friends, and you get like people who are learning English and just want to like socialize a bit, you know? So if you're looking for like a taste, it's great.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I'll definitely check it up. My issue is I'm geographically challenged. Yeah. That's the issue. I only have one car. Generally, me and my wife will carpool into work. So like it would have to be on a day where she decides she can work at home, that kind of thing. So ideally, I would love to see if there's one local to Wicklow. Like Wicklow is kind of growing and expanding a lot, so it wouldn't surprise me. Or maybe even there's one in Bray, because I know they've like the Mermaid Theatre there, so there might be stuff there. Okay. I will find one. But yeah, man, I just like my calendar is
busy,
jammed, busy. Like I got so like obviously we record with Half Our Tales usually like once a month, and that was fine. And then I spend maybe 2-3 evenings, a month then prepping for that. And then we've started streaming, and so that's another kind of evening a week gone. And then and then there's like kind of like all of the unsexy things with a podcast, like, hey, we need to promote this, we need to schedule this, we need to do X and Y, and but like it's such a necessary evil. I was listening to a podcast a while ago, and it's something that stuck with me and has always stuck with me, and I think will always stick with me. It was the concept of like, to be successful, first you got to do the work, right? And so for me, that's obviously, I need to play and record Dungeons and Dragons, and then you need to work consistently. So it's like, okay, well, we were playing and recording, but we need to do this on a schedule to make sure that we're hitting release dates every 2 weeks. And then you got to do hard work, and the hard work is the stuff that you don't like to do, or that you're bad at, or that you keep putting off. And that's social media, that's promoting, that's whatever it is for you, and then you got to do that hard work consistently. And I constantly find myself in between that hard work consistently kind of element. So yeah, it's rough. But it's kind of whenever I'm talking to the guys, it's just like, it's hard work consistently, guys, hard work consistently. And it's hard, it's in the name, but yeah.
I do the I do the edit on this. We record and I do the edit, and then I do a bit of art to go with each thing. And I know that the social media is the gap I'm missing, and I try and get a post up there, like, but it's just like, it just falls, and I should be like there daily. Like, okay, what's your requirement? Is it a daily post in your head, or is it a
this is something that we're actually actively looking at. We are possibly going to like hire someone to do like a consultation like session with us to be like, hey, what's wrong with our social media? How do we do it? But I know in my heart of hearts that ideally you never you should always have a story up, you know? And that's just sharing other people's stuff, because you got to build a network first, right? You got to have other people sharing your things as well. So it's sharing things constantly. It's slice of life, because for podcasts and things like that, people need to like who you are first to really care about buying into, you know, you. At least that's what I found for TTRPGs and D&D podcasts, because there's
personality driven,
thousands of them.
Yeah,
personality driven, you know. Smosh media, you know, those like YouTube sketch comedy guys, they were just like, oh yeah, we're going to do a Dungeons & Dragons campaign, and instantly got like 120,000 views on within like an hour of their first thing. And it's like, people want to see the people they like do things,
right? So
you got to be likable, and so part of that is social media. I know, yeah, fuck it, it's tough. But like, so what I ideally would like to get to is like a story up every single day, and then we have enough between a bi-weekly podcast and a bi-weekly stream, and then kind of other random things that we do. We've now moved to video content. Obviously streaming is video, but we're now moving to video podcasts as well, that ideally we get at least, you know, 2 to 3 clips. We could get more, but you don't want to be, you know, overrunning things. You only pick like the best clips. 2 to 3 clips of like, hey, have you got a chance to check out our episode yet? Here's one of our favorite moments for it. And then also in ahead of it to be like, oh, new episode dropping on Sunday. You got this to look forward to. Here's another clip. Yeah. Here's the clip that our friend so-and-so clipped live from our stream, you know, shout out to them, building the network kind of thing. But like, it's so much work, you know? Like we just got like kind of sponsored there. We got sent out a gift by Hasbro.
Right.
And it's like, you know, it took me 45 minutes to get myself set up, write out a little script, practice the video a couple of times, do it, edit it up, post it to social media for one post, you know? And it's like, that's when you've come home and it's, you know, you've come home and it's like 6, you've gone to the gym and it's like 7:30, you've done that and it's like 8:30, nearly 9, because, you know, you've had to like eat and take care of body functions, you know. It's like, oh, my day is done, and I made a single social media post. So I'm a really, really big, we're trying to like push just like everything needs to be easier, like, and kind of stop, you know, sacrificing good in the pursuit of perfect. So it's like, hey, if we can get away with just doing a quick, yo, what's up, we're in the studio, can't wait to record this episode, see you all later, you know. If it's a little ropey and shaky, it's human. People don't mind that, I don't think, anymore. I think in like, at least with the media that we probably grew up with, like everything was a little bit kind of like tighter and more produced. And not that like there's not heavily produced stuff by like the big people. It's, I don't know, I think there's just a lot to be said about that kind of like human approach. So yeah, trying to get that through. And then
I love that. I too, when you say a little ropey and a little human result, like part of what I bristle about with what podcasting has become is that like I loved how fucking like pirate radio it was. Like anyone with a phone could record something and away you go. But by the time now it's like a 3-camera setup with dedicated sets that they alternate in depending on which podcast they're doing that week. It's like, how is this not a TV show? Oh, you've a producer and an editor and a fucking distributor and a marketing person. It's like, what the fuck? Like, that's TV, guys. You're I appreciate the drive towards quality, but what you're doing is you're pricing us out of the medium to a degree.
100%. It is, it's very much can be pay to win model for podcasting. Like if you can afford a good editor, even just good mics, because like something that I discuss in my like actual play review show is like there's like the concept of like a hygiene factor. So in like business psychology, a hygiene factor is something that will like motivate people if it's at a certain level, and then after that it doesn't really do anything, but below that people won't be motivated. So usually that's like pay. So it's like if you're getting paid enough to cover all your bills and stuff, an extra 5-10% on that is probably not going to make anyone any happier. An extra 50-60%, okay, now we're talking, maybe I'm going to be a little bit more motivated to do my job. I kind of think of audio quality that same way, where it's like as long as it's somewhat clear, you're there. But then that level is going up and up and up because of the things you said, because so many more people and you get like and Media House did it too, where they have a studio, they'll go, hey, the Carl Henry Health podcast, I don't know if you know it, it's there's some call, I think he was like Operation Transformation, I don't know popular things, but he's like one of the trainers on there, and they basically made that podcast to promote Leia Healthcare. Right. And they were like, okay, we have all this equipment because we're a multi-million, like billion-dollar company. Let's get the best equipment. Let's get the best person in the business, and let's put out a podcast. Yeah. And it's like, there's stuff like that you're...
Oh, it's a professionally produced radio show. With. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very hard for us as the little guys to kind of...
Yeah.
There's we've got a spunky attitude. We can do it.
So D&D is your creative outlet and your love, and your Twitch streaming. You Twitch streaming D&D content, or are you playing games?
D&D content. So we started up another campaign that Jim is the DM for. Cool. So he's running it. It's called The Wizard of Wild Space. It is essentially the Wizard of Oz turned into a D&D campaign set in space. It's very fun. I'm playing a little auto gnome as the Tin Man. Oh, okay. We have like a Leonin cowardly rogue which is like a lion person. We have an awakened scarecrow, and then we have there's a race called the Hadozi, which are essentially just flying monkeys. And so we are like, now the Hadozi has just had a bright yellow vision that seems to have like seared into his mind, that is now basically guiding him to where he thinks we should go, because we have to basically follow the Yellow Brick Road. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. That's so fun. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, Twitch was like an avenue that we hadn't gone in. I watch Twitch streams, not a whole lot, but like a fair bit. It's kind of like if I'm kind of not watching anything, or I only have maybe like an hour and I'm just kind of chilling or playing a game, I'll maybe just put Twitch on in the background, usually to kind of just watch comfort games of games I know, like old RPGs and things.
I love that.
But yeah, D&D is where I spend a lot of my time and energy.
It is good when you get a job, not that this is you, but it was me, where you've got a job where it's like, I could do this work in 3 hours.
Yep.
And the rest of this job is the Bag of Cats production company.
Like I get all my stuff done, and I'm very good at what I do.
Stop there.
And yeah,
that way I don't have to edit anything else.
What do you mean? Nothing has been edited from this.
Nothing
podcast.
Has been edited from this podcast. All right. Well, then the end of the stream then is media. But is there anything else? Sorry, before I move us abruptly onto other topics, is there anything else you want to plug or talk about? Or, I mean, you got married, and you bought a house. That's an amazing update for me again, as we haven't spoken in so long, other than just like social media ships in the night. Congratulations on both fronts.
Thank you.
Obviously,
you very much.
children are the next port of call.
Probably don't think we're going to have kids.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Those
are the people I associate with. Non-child havers.
Yeah. I think
you
it's
don't need
very
to make
much
any. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. No. I'm happy to talk about it. Like, I think it's a lot of people, at least what we talked about is, I think having kids can be really, really fulfilling for a lot of people. But we both of us have so many things
D&D
in our
to
lives. Yeah, you know?
I hear you.
I mean, I can't have a kid hanging out of me when I'm trying to, plan what the Hoots Force are after. Like,
They just don't get it.
it's priorities.
Yeah, absolutely.
No. They're going to choke on the dice and everything. It's just, it's a disaster waiting
Just
to happen.
drop a
really.
kid in the wild. It will be raised by, I don't know, the half orc. Like,
This is it. And then
if it finds its way back, it joins the party.
In 20 years time, I interviewed a kid that I left in a jungle, and he'd be like, "Okay, tell me what happened to you. This is now my next D&D campaign."
Exactly.
You know?
It's a good system. So we tend to talk about if Kev had his way, solely nerd news. If Scruff had his way, we would just sit quietly for 40 minutes and then say goodnight. But I push us towards like movies, media, books. Like I try and take it like...
Sure.
I don't try and dwell 100% on the nerd stuff. I'm a giant nerd. You can see the Marvel stuff behind me. But like I love just cinema and art and the whole fucking lot. Right? I mean, like I watched Burlesque recently. That's a thing I put myself through. So keeping this kind of timeless and dateless, let's just round out 2023 really. So like, can you think of is there a particular TV show that took your fancy in 2023, something that stood out? It's okay to say no also.
You're really putting me on a spot here, Aidan. I think so. Here's the thing. I generally don't actually watch a whole lot of TV or films. I would say a solid 70% of the TV that I watch is stuff that my wife has on.
Okay.
And I come home and I'll be playing a game and I'll half osmose like whatever she's been watching, and she will happily admit, she won't mind me saying this, she watches a lot of crap.
Cool. So what's the last thing that you passive absorbed?
Well, no, to be fair, I started the new Scott Pilgrim
Cool. That's a great
the animated
shout.
series last night. I was really enjoying that. We both of us watched Gen V, really enjoyed that, and I watched the first episode of Invincible, and I just haven't gotten around to
Season 2
continuing on. Yes,
Yeah.
Season 2.
Okay. That was one of the first things we talked about on this podcast was Invincible. I'm a huge Invincible fan. I bought a 75-cent copy of Invincible #1 from a bin out of Forbidden Planet back when they used to like take a red marker and run it across half the page, and it annoys me so much that it's so fucked as an issue because it was in the bin because nobody bought Invincible, because nobody bought that fucking book. And I read it and I went, this is class and it's drawn beautifully, and I wish I'd had the fucking wherewithal in that moment to go and buy #1 again, fresh, clean somewhere, because like they printed a low number of those, and like what that book then went on to do over the next couple of hundred issues, like it's one of my favorite. Anyway, sorry, I've distracted you. It's one of my favorite.
No,
things.
I love that. I love when people are passionate about things. But like they're kind of like the main kind of things I've actively wanted to go and watch. Things I've been kind of like, oh yeah,
cool,
great. I'm gonna watch this. I think, and I don't know if it's it's kind of which came first here. It's a chicken and egg situation where have I become really, really busy and I don't have time for things, or I kind of feel as well that I have a lot of kind of like media burnout, because I obviously was really, really into all the Marvel stuff, and I remember being so into all of like the series and things that come out, and like I think Miss Marvel or whatever the
Marvels,
the series,
Miss Marvel.
not even the film, Miss Marvel. I think that was the last series I watched, last Marvel, limited thing I watched, and like I loved Loki, and I've had no major desire to go watch the second season, and again I don't know if it's just because over the past year or so there's just been an absolute bombardment, and I was someone who religiously went on release weekend to all of these movies and things like that. Yeah. And I feel so burnt out from it. I think that I was just kind of like, it felt like a chore to keep up with everything that I just didn't.
Yeah.
And I probably then spent my time doing other things, playing video games.
The series got to a
editing,
point
stuff
where
like
there was a new episode of a series every week.
Yeah.
And then it became a release of a film at the end of that, and then a Star Wars series would begin, and then the next Marvel series would begin, and we've had like 3 or 2.5 years of just like, they've got something in your eye line every week. And if they didn't, we'd anticipate more, and also the quality would be standing up, because at the moment it's just kind of gone to fucking pot. I want to say that Loki was great. I want to say you'll enjoy Loki season 2.
Yeah.
But really, given what they set up in season 1, for me, they abandoned a lot of the potential, and they spend about 5 episodes just running around chasing a doohickey, like there's a MacGuffin, there's a thing to build, and it's like, this is time wasting. By the end of it, it's beautiful. I loved the ending, but like, there's a lot of running around in circles to no avail. I'm like, why are you making me watch this? You had a 3-episode season here.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because like Loki season 1 and, you know, a lot of like the kind of earlier stuff, there was buzz after the fact as well. You know, when people would be talking about it and be like, oh yeah, you know, there was breathing room, a chance to like digest it and kind of absorb it. And now there's not that, and it's kind of like, no, here's content in your eyes and ears all the time. Consume, and, you know, don't worry about it. And yeah, I know, I think it's jaded me a lot. But like, to go back to your original question, Gen V thought it was really, really good. I'm a really big fan of The Boys. In general, I love the satire of it. It's just, you know, all the performances are class. It's very enjoyable, I think. So much so that it got me to read comics again, and then I realized the Boys comic is dirt, so I stopped reading that. And was like, I'll stick to the show. So yeah,
a good idea they built on.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, because it's so obviously the whole like evil Superman thing is so overdone. Like it's such a trope done to death. But like, I think I just enjoy.
But I don't think it was element. Even until Invincible.
I don't know.
Who we got? Bizarro, like, maybe. Oh, I suppose you're right. Like, there's like the Sun Superman from Superman. Then there's that 4.
Like, and then, but even like in other media, there was like, you know, that Brightburn movie.
Sorry, I'm talking shit.
Yeah, but like there's a lot of it, you know, and so I like that it's not just evil Superman. It's you know, evil consumerism and capitalism, you know, and that's you know, superheroes are the vehicle for that, and which I think is just like a nice spin on it, other than har Superman evil, you know. So
the Scott Pilgrim show, you said you just started that. Did you just watch 1 episode, 2 episodes? How'd you get it?
I think I watched 3 or 4. I can't remember. Again,
cool.
The culture of binging things meant that I was playing Total War Warhammer on my laptop while that was in the background. And I actually was like, I'm going to go back and rewatch it because I was really enjoying the visuals. And I was like, okay, finally something that I want to pay full attention to, which I think is such, I don't know. And I don't know if that's a me problem, and maybe I just have ADHD that I need to get sorted out. But like, you know, I think it's become so natural for me to multitask when I watch or consume media.
Yeah. Oh, I'm fucking iPad. I'm just always drawing.
Yeah. But hey, at least that's productive, and it's not just, you know, sometimes scrolling or something. But I think, you know, Scott Pilgrim was actually, I was like, I really am enjoying the animation style. I love that it's like, you know, real anime-esque, but
it's got a real handcrafted vibe to it as well. Like, I don't know if they're using a rig or like if they're using like traditional style like animation, but there's something kind of like, they've done a good job of hitting the like janky handmade vibe off it as well. Like,
it's just got, it's got real kind of the comic vibes off of it, and it's just like, I'm really enjoying this, and I'm doing myself a disservice to not give it my full attention. you know?
And it's I'm only on the third episode, but like I don't know where it's going.
Yeah, me neither. Which is really interesting. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool.
I was fully prepared for them to be just like, well, it's 15 years later or it's 10 years later or whatever the fuck it is. You know, it's like, let's just do another swing at it animated. And it's like, oh no, they're actually like reevaluating this and trying something a little different. And looking at even very early on the idea that like this is a book I wrote, you know, for Brian Lee O'Malley. This is a book I wrote 2004. I've come a long way. Maybe the idea that this woman would sit back and let a bunch of men fight over her, and that these people have it in their head that they might even be entitled to ownership of her if they do. Like it's him sort of revisiting his ideas.
100%. I think the League is portrayed so interestingly in that it's like, and look, obviously there's a lack of media literacy in the world, but like I think it would be very hard to look at how the League is portrayed and not realize these guys are idiots. They have their priorities completely wrong. They are not good people. They, you know, and it's like, I think it's very clearly framed in a way of like, you know, okay, obviously they're called the evil X's, but I mean, like beyond that, it's like, you know, hey, why do you feel entitled to be able to fight over a woman, you know, who has her own agency and everything? So it's, it's...
I mean, I'm pretty early into it, as I say, but it is interesting even culturally to have an artist look at their own work and be able to re-examine it. I mean, I'm assuming he's involved, and I got to go double check that, whether somebody's doing it for them.
He's definitely credited on it. Yeah. So, I mean, I would hope.
Yeah, I would hope that somebody else isn't reevaluating his work for him. But to me, it's fascinating that like somebody, it's not getting to like 25, 30, 40 years later and people are looking back going, look at this fucking asshole and what he thought about love and relationships and infatuation. Yeah. It's somebody within their own life hitting a point where they're just like, oh yeah, I was a kid and this was like a take I had on relationships and love and possession and infatuations and fighting over somebody even being a thing, and how he is in relationships with knives. Like they really go out of their way to go like they just hang around each other, but they've not been in any way intimate. So Scott is immediately off the hook. It's still a little like he needs to end this sort of association a little bit or draw some clear boundaries. But it's like interesting that they're just like, let's put a line on that real quick.
Yeah, but they're also not trying to apologize for it either, and they're not trying to apologize for him. Yeah. And he's definitely being portrayed in a very kind of like a raw way to be like, hey, this guy's kind of problematic. You know, he's, you know, essentially abusing was it Wallace's, you know, kindness and friendships. He's, you know, okay, yes, they're very clear that like, oh, they've only held hands once or something like that, but like he's still dating a girl who's like 6 years younger than her and in school, you know. It's and then, you know,
when he's 40 and she's 36 or 35, you know, whatever, but when he's 20 and she's 15, issue.
And unfortunately we all have had experience with, like, we know people who've like, you know, been in those situations, and like, so it's kind of nice to see it, like a spotlight shone on it, being like, hey, re-examine this. You know,
to have it, the artist has the opportunity to reevaluate his own work and recontextualize it and hopefully make something new and better of it, and have the original exist within the context that it was created, which is, you know, from that of a much younger creator. And whenever I wander into this end of sort of conversation or like hit a point like that, I think of the scene in 30 Rock where Kenneth and Tracy are talking about like Israel and Palestine or something, or misogyny. I can't remember what the fuck they were talking about, but Kenneth asks a question and Tracy goes, Ken, I think the two of us have wandered into intellectual deep waters, and if you cling to me, we are both going to drown.
That is a very good quote.
So moving on, is there a movie that you enjoyed this year?
God, is there a movie
not necessarily a favorite, any movie you enjoyed this year?
Yeah, so the last movie I'm actually pretty sure it's the last movie I watched, is a TV film called Click and Collect.
we're getting straight to it. This is the
Yeah.
subject that you asked to talk about this week.
I
So
mean,
tell us about it.
I mean, phrasing it that I asked to talk about it is strong. I'm just gonna put that out there for my own record.
I gave you all of cinematic history and
You
said,
did, you
what would you
did.
like
And-
us to talk about?
And this was the only thing I could think of. A 50-minute straight-to-TV film with Stephen Merchant.
And Asim Chowdhury.
Yeah, that's just a rip-off of Turbo Man. Like, it's just Turbo Man in the UK. And it's great.
Right down to the mending up in the costume.
It's I'm pretty sure they even self-referred to it in the film. But like, man, you're like, because you're asking me like, oh, what do you want to do? And you know, it's okay. We don't want to put a date on this, but you know, it is a time of year where it's dark outside early.
Yeah. I mean, I said, I said, look, given that this will be a December release, if there's something seasonal you like, or if there's just anything you like movie-wise, this is cool. I want to talk about this. I do have stuff to say on this. Not a lot of stuff, but like,
it's not the film you can do a real intellectual deep dive on. So we're avoiding the 30 Rock scenario here, thankfully.
Thank Christ, yeah. But I guess, is there anything else in the year that you watched? It can be.
Let's just
touch on anything else just to get it out of the way. So,
Shit, son,
did you go to the cinema this year?
You know, I actually don't know if I did.
Wow. Okay.
Which
cool.
is wild.
Yeah.
I lie. No, sorry, I majorly lie. I've been to the cinema twice.
Okay.
Did the D&D movie come out this year?
Oh. Well, see, Madeline the other week, I will answer that immediately. Madeline the other week was saying that she's kind of not going to the theatre because, being American, when she was growing up, there started to be a lot of shootings at theatres, so she stopped going to theatres and feeling comfortable. That's an interesting reason.
I don't have that excuse.
No, we don't have that excuse. You're 100% right. The D&D movie came out this year.
Okay, so I could talk about that.
This is on fucking brand for you. Did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it. So we actually we got invited to the premiere of it through the podcast. Yeah, we helped the promotion company Entertainment One do a few giveaways at Dublin Comic Con and things like that. So we were running giveaways to win tickets and goodie bags and that kind of thing. And then so we also got brought to the premiere, which was great. It was a really, really cool experience and my first ever premiere. I got a table talk or sidebar you on how the fuck that happens, because I'm 137 episodes of us talking about anything movie related and anything television related. Do I just need to talk about just Marvel forever to get to Marvel, or what do I got to do to get to one of these things? But let's just keep talking about the movie for the minute. I'll take my marketing woes to you on a separate. Yeah, we can set up.
Go to the Patreon to hear me fucking cry.
Yeah. So yeah, the D&D movie, great fun. It was I went in expecting very little. I expected a, campy, cheesy action movie, and that's what we got. But there was genuinely some excellent cinematographical scene, or whatever that word is, scenes.
I like your word better.
Thanks. I made it up. you can have it if you want.
Cinematographical. Cinematographical. There was an og sound in there. I loved it. Go on.
Yeah. There's a lot of good cinema stuff, and that scene of the where they're using the hither thither staff to do the heist, and it's just the heist on the wagon, really, really well done, really well choreographed, and everything was just this is good. It was genuinely a good movie, it's not gonna win awards or anything, but it's a good film.
Had there been one or two D&D movies previously? I know I saw the one way back.
I think there was one, I want to say, in the early 2000s.
Right.
Something like that. I don't think I've watched that.
It's not good. I remember watching it.
I've heard it's terrible, so I was like, you know what? I can do without that. And at the time I wasn't into D&D anyway, so I was like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, no, I was really good. And then the second time I can remember being in the cinema, and I 100% have been to the cinema other times this year. I just can't remember them, or they haven't been memorable. But we also got invited
that's good enough.
Yeah, we also got invited to the Ahsoka premiere through Geek Ireland, who we've kind of like done a few bits with as well.
Cool.
So they premiered the first 2 episodes of that, and that was cool. So I have been to cinema. That's not a film though, but yeah. And then like I've probably like, I mean, going back to what we're talking about, Marvel movies, or like earlier on in the episode, I threw on Far From Home, or whatever the latest Spider-Man was with the crossover event.
No Way Home.
No Way Home, yes. Threw on that as background noise filler one night for myself. But yeah, it's been a wild year for me in terms of like lack of media consumption, because generally I would watch a lot more things like that. But I really just think it's between burnout of content, and oversaturation of content, and then I've just been genuinely out the wazoo with stuff. I know we're not to go back on other things, but like I recently got invited by my friend who runs an audio drama called No Return. Shout out to Keir. He wanted to do, so he runs an audio drama that was, he originally started writing and performing and getting people in. I've done some voice acting for it. Like he wanted to do a D&D game in that world, and he wanted and produce it as a podcast, and he wanted me to be the DM for it. So like even with just like random other things like that have come up, I don't know, all my time seems to go to that type of thing. But yeah, so I don't know. I'll guarantee after we hang up, I'll be like, oh yeah, no, I've actually been to the cinema like 5 times, and here's exactly what it is. And I'll text you and I'll send you a voice note, and I'll be like, Dylan actually went to this, and this.
Yeah, I'll put it in. There were 3 direct-to-DVD Dungeons and Dragons movies.
Ooh.
One in 2000, one in 2005, and one in 2012. And they do seem to be a connected universe, oddly enough.
Wow.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Who was the lead in that first one?
That first one was the kid from like Lois and Clark Superman who played Jimmy Olsen. His name is Justin Whalen.
Wow. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that was going to be his like launch. Marlon Wayans, Thora Birch, she was kind of climbing at that point. Jeremy Irons, the villain. Like this could have been
Jeremy Irons.
Good.
That's the one that like obviously I'm in a lot of kind of like D&D circles and stuff. And when the movie was coming out, there was so much talk about it. And the one line that I just kept seeing online over and over and over again was, as long as it's better than that one with Jeremy Irons. So
yeah, but like, I mean, look, Jeremy Irons, I saw him do like a masterclass at the Galway Film Fleadh in like 2007. We just went and sat in like Town Hall Theatre, and like it was really a small theatre, and him on stage talking about his whole career. And sometimes you're doing a fantastic piece of cinema where you really have to think and dig deep and do the work and build your character. And sometimes you go to Budapest and stand on a tower and stare at an imaginary dragon. Like,
I mean,
Czech Republic, sorry. Budget 45 million, box office 33.
Whew, amazing.
It's the Michael Caine quote, isn't it? I never saw Jaws 3, but I saw The House it Bought.
I mean, yeah. Look, I mean, everyone's got to do things for a paycheck, right?
That's it, don't we all? All right, well then let's turn to Click and Collect.
Yes.
So
pumped.
Tell me what you liked. Tell me. Tell me why this spoke to you on an emotional level.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
It's just a bit silly, isn't it?
It's just popped up on Netflix, right? It came out in 2018.
Yes.
Oddly enough, yeah. I would have thought it came out last year, but that's what the pandemic did to my brain.
Yeah, no, it feels like it could have come out last year.
Well, I watched it when it first came out. I watched it when it first aired. So anyway, you talk.
So we'd been talking about like, oh, if there's something seasonal you wanted to talk about, and really, I think this is way too deep of a commentary now to give this movie, but I think Christmas for me is like I've never been hugely into Christmas. Like I like it, but like it was wasn't a huge thing in my house. Like
Sure.
when I was still living at home for the past for the last 6 years when I was living at home, we didn't have a full Christmas tree, and the three of us, because there was only me and my parents. I was an only child. There was no other kids. There was not really many younger cousins or anything like that. And if we went out, we'd always go to someone else's house because our house wouldn't have been big enough to host everyone. And so we just never really had the kind of the Christmas buzz. And so I think I became very kind of like cynical about Christmas in a way that it all kind of just seemed a little tacky and things like that. And so I think that kind of aspect of it, is in Click and Collect, but it's done in a very like self-aware way. I think they know this is just a kind of cheap and cheery movie that's barely got a plot, that's just got some fun kind of scenes. Everything is just kind of like a little bit, like, okay, yeah, it's just Stephen Merchant playing the same character he plays in every single film or every single role, and it's just a little bit of fun. And I think for me, I think I resonated a little bit with that, because I'm like, yeah, that is kind of what Christmas is about. It's just about being a little bit like, a little bit naff, a little bit campy, a little bit kind of just like, look, we're going to put on the airs for it. It can be as much as you want to read into it or put value into it. And so kind of when I was watching that, I was like, you know what? This was fun. I enjoyed watching it, and I will also enjoy seeing family and friends at Christmas. And it's as much kind of enjoyment that you get out of that is what matters. So I think so much of like Christmas is so artificial anyway, so it was kind of refreshing to see one that was like, we're not even going to stretch this out to 90 minutes. It's a TV film. It's 53 minutes long.
53 minutes. It's got room for commercials. Can you imagine watching that with a break every 9 minutes and having to sit through 3.5 minutes of ads for insurance and life insurance and whatever fucking toy is, and then have to come back and watch another fucking 10 minutes, and then it's like coming up on Channel 4, and the same ident playing before and after each break starts, and then Whiskas makes the best food for cats this Christmas at M&S. The same set of ads 3 times in an hour. Like, whatever streaming did for us, it cut that out, right?
Yeah.
It's very, look, it's Jingle All the Way. You said that, right? He has to buy a present for his daughter. He fucks it up. Yeah. And then it's road trip to get the present, with like a plucky sidekick that's kind of driving him nuts. Yeah, and at every step of the way, when something can go wrong, it does go wrong, until there is a mysterious man who may or may not be Father Christmas, who comes and saves the day with the pound that the plucky sidekick, because he had the spirit of Christmas in his heart all along, comes and gives to them so that they can get the toy for the daughter. And it's just like, it is what it is. It is what it is a review, isn't it?
This is why I play D&D and don't make movie podcasts.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah. So I did watch this in 2018, probably on Christmas Eve. I like Stephen Merchant. I've always liked him more than Ricky, even like as a duo. I just like his sort of acerbicness, but also his like, he just feels like a nicer chap. I hated him. I hated his character in it. I hated the neighbor, because the neighbor can't be that fucking oblivious to the fact that he's just trespassing and being fucking pushy. Yeah. I hated the like fucking heavy-handedness of us, like, well, I don't get to see my kids this Christmas, but if I could do anything, it's like, you're not a real fucking person. You were a cartoon character. I hated that they wouldn't just talk to each other like human beings and express discomfort, disinterest. Just have a human conversation at any point, and you will eliminate a lot of these fucking mishaps and misunderstandings if anyone just had a fucking human conversation. And then all the while it's like, this is just fucking Jingle All the fucking Way, and he just brings back the fucking, and then they all just have a fucking laugh. Now, that was 2018, Aidan. Ever since the vaccine, I've been a little less smart, and fucking 5 years later of like life crushing down on me, I put it on today and I had a ball. I loved it. I knew what I was watching this time as opposed to getting hit with it for the first time. And like they're so they are so kind of immediately unlikable. Even the guy that's like supposed to be kind of adorable, I'm like, you're not supposed to just put fucking Christmas lights up on someone else's house. You're not an idiot.
Check if the car is petrol or diesel before feeling it. Like, don't think
no
you can
wonder your
drive
wife and kids left you fucking moron.
don't think you can drive through a clearly massively flooded
It's a fucking lake
lane. Yeah, and it's just like it's just, and like whatever about caricatures being, a necessary evil sometimes when you're trying to like establish things very quickly.
Yeah.
Man, they went right to the top.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't have gone further with how just, flanderized instantly these characters were,
Yeah. Big swings right out the gate. But I sincerely mean that. I don't know what the fuck's happened to me in 5 years, but watching it this time, like I don't have the energy to hate. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad you mentioned it.
I think that resonates with me a lot because, like, as I said, I watched it and I was like, this is a terrible movie, but I enjoyed watching it anyway because, it's not trying to be anything it's not. It's just a bit of like cheesy Christmas fun where everything happens okay in the end, and that's what it is. Yeah. That's just what it is. I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat myself. It is what it is, Aidan.
It is what it is. I can't fault it. I had a lot of fun with it this time. I loved the scene. I think it felt long for me the first time I watched it because there's that scene where they get to the little girl's bedroom.
You had to watch all those ads.
Maybe. Like, I don't know why it felt that long, but like they finally get to pick up the toy, but realize that someone they spoke to along the way like swiped their ID and got in ahead of them and took the fucking thing, and they track that person back to their house, and he's dressed in a Santa hat with his beard, and Steve Merchant is dressed as a giant elf, and they're breaking into a little girl's room and trying to steal this toy. And then they have that moment where they realize what they're doing wrong, and they see that she loves this fucking thing, and they're not going to steal it from her, and they just put it back and look up, and she's looking at them, and they just go shh, and he goes ho ho ho, and they leave. I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. Fucking roll credits, go home. But then there's 10 fucking more minutes of them in a fucking service station. It's like, end, that was it, end there,
I when I was watching it, fully expected it to end. It was just they were going to, just do a bit of B-roll to get them back home. They were going to just kind of look sad and depressed. And they were going to be like, well, look, we tried, and actually Christmas is about family. It's not about thing. Yeah. But no.
Have the daughter go, I'm just happy you're here, Dad.
Anyway. Yeah. Enter the C plot of, the psychic being like, no, we should give this homeless man the money, and him coming back so that they can win it in a claw machine that, no one else had seen, even though it was in that same service station where the ID got robbed. And so your one could have seen it, and clearly people around there want it, and it's just so good.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing like this. I can very enthusiastically and energetically tell you why I hated it in 2018, and all I can say in 2023 is I really enjoyed it. I had so much fun. It was nice seeing Steve Merchant's character soften. It was nice seeing it was Dev was his name. Dev just become like a sweeter guy, get brought around for the Christmas party. Man, good choice. You kind of made my day a little bit. I was sitting here like I'm painting up Christmas presents for people, and like got that on. And like, this is fun. I'm glad. I enjoyed this. I had a cup of tea. This is a blast.
Great. I'm so glad that you actually got enjoyment out of it, because when I said it, I was like, God, if he goes and like, does his due diligence as a serious podcaster, he's going to go and watch this, and I'm going to feel real bad that I've made him do that.
No, I enjoyed it. I'm like, again, if you listen to any of these episodes, I'm the on the fence guy,
Okay.
Kev loves everything. Scruff thinks everything's shit. And I'm like, Okay, I can see the good, I can see the bad. That's a middle ground. The extent to which we shit on things is probably why Marvel isn't inviting us to the fucking premiere of like
Probably.
the way we tore Ahsoka apart for like 6 weeks in a row is probably why we're not getting to the. What a boring
probably.
show. You don't have to nod, you don't have to smile, you don't have to agree. Why am I watching Ahsoka and I care about Sabine Wren and Ezra Bridger? Like, and then they're going to do the Sabine Wren and Ezra Bridger show, and all I'll care about is the fucking Luke character they're setting up in the distance.
Yeah.
Will you make me care about the character your fucking show is about first? Please. There's one good episode where Ahsoka has the fucking flashback and we feel for her. The rest of it, what the fuck? You don't have to nod, you don't have to smile, you don't have to agree. You said nothing.
I watched those first 2 episodes in the theater. I enjoyed it for the spectacle of going to the cinema for it, and I didn't watch the rest of the season. So if that doesn't say it, I don't know what else will.
Yeah.
It's on my list. I'll say that.
Are there any other? So look, I think we've addressed Click and Collect. We're coming up on an hour and a half. I think that's a great length for a podcast episode.
Yep.
Is there anything else in your sort of Christmas watch list? What do you watch? I mean, like everyone said Die Hard, but they've been saying Die Hard to death, and I've been watching Die Hard every Christmas since 1995. So what's on your list?
I actually don't like. I think so. My wife is German and will be heading back to Germany for a couple of weeks. And so I'll have like the house to myself, and I think I'm going to use it. Yeah, pretty like no clothes,
no laundry, same pair of pants for days.
I don't need pants. I'm not going to be getting dressed.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll subsist on terrible food. I'll probably forget to eat some days. But I think I'm just going to actually finally get around to watching. Like I want to finish watching Invincible. Catch up, finish the Scott Pilgrim. I don't have a go-to Christmas movie or anything like that. There's certain things like if they're on, I'll like gladly watch. I think Nightmare Before Christmas, I'll gladly watch. I'll 100% watch Die Hard if it comes up. I have a Die Hard Christmas jumper. Like it's
nice.
It's a yeah. So I mean, but like, there's nothing. I don't have any kind of like rituals around. Like, oh, it's St. Stephen's Day. I'm gonna watch this film. Yeah. It's kind of more just like if something is on, back in the days of TV, it would have been like, yeah, cool, stick on whatever's on TV, whatever the RTE Christmas movie is. Yeah. Cool, I'll watch that.
Problem is these days it's Harry Potter or Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. It's like, what happened to fucking... If it's in Technicolor, I'll watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I love an old seasonal movie, but I keep ranting about that.
Yeah, so... and then, I will watch... my wife's going to kill me. There's this German tradition of a... show. I can't remember the name of the show. I might send you a voice message afterwards so you can put it in. It's called, and you can it's basically this, it's every New Year's Eve it's shown in Germany, and it's like a 7 or 8 minute sketch of, and it's called like the
Dinner
same
for One, is it?
Yes, that is the one. Yeah.
I'm dating a Dutch woman.
That is a huge thing. Yeah, maybe it's just a continental Europe thing, because like it's in English as well, so it's not even like I don't know why they watch it or why it's a big thing. So I will end up watching that for sure. But yeah, other than that, I'll kind of finally use some time to, as I said earlier on, my wife watches TV and stuff way more than I do, so I end up I'll be playing a game on my laptop, osmosing what she's watching. So I'll kind of use this time to be like, okay, TV's mine now. I'm going to watch whatever random stuff I want to. And that'll probably be kind of generally, I've heard great things about Blue Eye Samurai. Yeah.
I can't stop talking about it. I didn't, I'm so used to Netflix mediocrity at this point that to see something that is exceptional, I can't stop talking about it. I would love to work on it. I don't even know how to begin to do that. I'm so fucking withdrawn from the animation industry at this. I see live action reference footage. I see fucking CG texture artists. I see all of these people, and I'm really in a position where I think I can take your coats when you come in the morning. I just want to be near this fucking production. This is so fucking good, and it's so perfectly set up for 3 solid seasons.
Okay, nice.
She's trying to kill the 4 white men that were in Japan when she was born. One of them sired her and made her life hell as a half-breed. And so one's already dead, but we're going to see her kill the other four, and we'll probably learn what happened to the first one as the narrative goes as well. And it's like,
That's
it's
cool.
so perfectly set up for 3 seasons. It's beautiful. Sorry, I can't stop talking about it. It's great.
But yeah, so that's probably on my list. Other than that, I'll probably just I'll see whatever is there. Is there anything that you would recommend as someone who obviously watches a lot of stuff to someone who doesn't watch nearly as much stuff? If there was like one thing, like, oh, you gotta watch this Christmas film.
See, Christmas stuff, I love so much of it. I'm a big Christmas nerd. I love the vibe on it. Christmas Day, it's always like just sitting around with family, and it's like it's fine. But like going to like comedy, like there's so much comedy shows in Dublin this week and next week and the week after between. There's the Giggles comedy fucking Christmas party tomorrow. They're in the same place, Bar Ella on Bagot Street. There's the Ring-a-Ding-Ding Frank Sinatra Christmas special, which is just a bunch of characters. Somebody's playing Frank Sinatra, and like it's a whole sketch show. It's great. There's a group called Cool Baby have a show on the 14th. Mob have a show on the 15th where I'm doing Dungeons and Naggins. The Bag of Cats, of course, have their show on the 15th. I'm just trying to plug all the comedy. Ghost Stories, it's sold out. It's a great fucking Christmas.
Ghost Stories are great. I saw them at Smock Alley. Yeah.
Oh, they're amazing.
Good. That was,
but they're sold out.
show.
So keep an eye out for Ghost Stories. Movie-wise, I'll watch any version of A Christmas Carol. There was one day where I watched 4 versions of A Christmas Carol.
Oh my god!
I was, and by that point, I was just like, I have compared a lot of. I saw Patrick Stewart, George C. Scott, Albert Finney, and Kelsey Grammer do it. Kelsey Grammer was dog shit.
Okay,
because he was clearly cribbing off of Finney's older man with a posture issue, but Finney played it like, I'm an old man, I've got a back issue. He played it the whole way through. But whenever Grammer got indignant or energetic, he would just come up straight again. And it's like, well, that's hard. Scrooged, Bill Murray. If you've not seen that one,
I'm pretty sure I've seen it. But
it's so good. I love it so much. Some Like It Hot. We talked about it with Madeline last week. Anything Billy Wilder directed, like It's a Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life. The Apartment. You start seeing the war movies, Singing in the Rain is usually on. Like, I love all of this stuff. The Lighthouse Theatre is playing great stuff this season as well. One of the things, and I'm going to this on the 16th, is a movie called The Shop Around the Corner with Jimmy Stewart. And it's like, I think it's 1943. It's old as fuck, basically, is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
But they remade it in the 90s as You've Got Mail with Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks. And that's like my favorite rom-com. I don't know why. I just love Tom Hanks. But I've watched that movie a lot. And I was like, hey, they're showing the original. I've never seen it. Jimmy Stewart. I love Jimmy Stewart. So basically, fucking Grinch. The Grinch is great. The Santa Claus. Don't watch 3 Santa Claus movies and 2 seasons of the Clauses. Don't do that. Elf. I mean, there's just so much stuff in this world of things to play with.
There is.
If you love an action movie, take any Shane Black movie. They're all set at Christmas. Lethal Weapon 1, Predators, or The Predator. He set that at fucking Christmas. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Have you ever seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
No.
Okay, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is a suggestion then.
I'll take that as my homework.
I've said a lot of fucking words over the last while. And Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, I think, was 2006, when Robbie Downey Jr. was uninsurable at the fucking bottom of his fucking career.
Oh yeah,
he just coming out of drug addiction, alcohol addiction, everything else. I think it's 2006. It's set at Christmas. He plays a fucking, like, a heist man. He's a criminal. He's just knocking over fucking toy shops around Christmas time. Does this sound familiar?
Yes. I'm not sure if I've watched it or I've heard of it. But yeah, it sounds familiar.
He's running from the police and he runs into a building in New York, and it's a fucking, it's a videotaping, or like what's the word? Oh God, I
like
can't
a
remember.
filming.
It's an audition. It's an audition to tape for a role in a movie, and he gets cornered, and they start asking him questions, and he starts answering them, and they just go, "Wow, we love this energy. We love it. Wow, this is perfect. We're going to send you to LA. We're going to cast you in the role. We're going to put you with a consultant. You're going to be playing this private detective. Val Kilmer is the private detective.
Okay,
and like Val Kilmer hadn't done anything in fucking ages either." And he's playing like Gay Barry, I think is what they call him. I can't remember, like, And he's just an acerbic fucking asshole every step of the way. Robert Downey Jr. is off kilter, and it just turns into a film noir. He gets tied up in some real shit. There's a lot of gunplay. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang.
I will watch that film.
That's the recommendation. Like everything that happened with Shane Black after the fact, ultimately and unfortunately kind of fucked that guy. Is that fair? I don't know. He like there's a reason that Shane Black directed Iron Man 3, and it's because Robert Downey Jr. was trying to redeem his friend who redeemed him. So it was a little cycle thing, you know. It's like he said the wrong thing at one point and kind of got blacklisted for a minute. But Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is fun. That's my recommendation if you've never seen it. There you go. It's not even straight Christmassy. It's a cool film noir thing.
Cool.
There you go.
I will. Thank you for that recommendation.
No worries. Is there anything you want to plug before we jump off? Do it explicitly.
Yeah. My main thing is Heartfire Tales. It's a 3-man project. Myself, Jim, also of parkour and freerunning fame.
Sensei Bob.
And Sensei Bob and our American friend Ryan. We put an incredible amount of time, effort, energy, money, blood, sweat, and tears into this project, and it's something that
it's the money more than the tears that hurts.
We are incredibly passionate and energetic about it. We have been doing it consistently for 2 years now. We birthed the idea and incepted the idea like 3 years ago. We kind of waited until the pandemic settled, and kind of just since then, it's been such a big part of our lives. And we've genuinely done very, very good things with it. You know, as I said earlier, we put on a sold out show in Smockality. We've done live shows at Dublin Comic Con, at Adventure Con. We're going to other conventions this year. We've been invited to do things like helped promote the D&D movie in Ireland. We've, Hasbro have sent us out figurines to promote. We are... There's one more thing there, but yeah, we've done a lot, and like we're constantly upgrading and trying to like be the best kind of podcasters and entertainers that we can be. Ryan now writes and composes music to score the episodes.
That's amazing.
Like so much work goes into into everything we do, and we're good, like we're getting a following. Like we've just launched a Patreon. Like we only have a handful of patrons, but the fact that there's people out there willing to give us their money,
that's great.
We're like, this is the dream. And I think it's, even if you're not into D&D and you just like comedy and storytelling, it's good. You don't have to be like an aficionado for the rules or anything like that. That doesn't really matter. There's most of the episodes, it's just us role-playing and improvising around things. It's me setting up a scene and the guys fucking with me, and it's fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely check that out. If you're into LARP, so live action role-playing, check out Fake Swords and Real Feelings, where me and Jim go to Empire LARP, which is a massive LARP 4 times a year over in England, and we kind of make videos around that, which are chaotic and fun. And but those two kind of things are the main ones. And if you're into D&D or TTRPGs, we also kind of, on the back of working with Dublin Comic Con, so many people came to us and were like, hey, we've, maybe I'm just new to the area and I can't find a game, or I'm new to Ireland and can't find a game, or, I had a game group and then we kind of fell out, and now I want D&D to be a bigger part of my life. So we set up like a big Discord server. We have like 650 members at the moment at time of recording, and like, it's a cool place to hang out and meet other like-minded people. We've got the kind of like a wide variety of people there. So come join that, hang out, and
that's amazing.
Yeah, that'll do. Heartfire Tales.
That's great.
Main thing.
Is that just Heartfire Tales on Instagram?
On Instagram, we are Heartfire Tales Pod. On Twitter, we are Heartfire T. And we're also Heartfire Tales on Blue Sky, because Twitter is run by a fascist. I hope you don't mind me saying that, but it's true.
Not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
He's something.
He's something. If you still use Facebook, we're also on Facebook, I guess. But Instagram is kind of where we're most active. Heartfire Tales Pod. I'm sure you'll be open to me giving you a link you can put in the show description
100%,
where everything will be.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, Dylan.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a good Christmas.
Thanks.
Tell me how to get promo work. I need sponsorship. I need to make this my life. Help!